Today on the Game Marks podcast, we load up All Japan Pro Wrestling in 1993 for the SNES and Super Famicom. We take our deep dive into everything there is to know, plus our weekly tournament, Clash at the Feast. Will we play it forever or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Plug in and put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks!
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast. My name is George Feast.
And I'm Johnny Clash, and this week we are playing All Japan Pro Wrestling, aka Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 1993 for the SNES and the Super Famicom.
As always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. John, my friend.
Hello, George.
Another week, another video game, man. How are you?
Pretty damn good. Speaking of joining the conversation, this week, WWE WWF Raw. I feel like this is one of our most socially interactive games we've ever covered. And not for good reasons, I guess, because most of the comments were just flat out, this game sucked.
I was going to say, my favorite comment was, it caught me off guard. I was not expecting that to be the tweet. Saw that, New England legend Max Smashmaster tweeted at us, and he said that they walked like they have a shit in their pants, and or they have to shit, and that popped me. I laughed.
I think either way works. I think we described it as having a stick up their ass, which check out one entrance on YouTube, and you'll see what we're talking about. But I think we
very
pretty much
stiff, very rigid. Yeah,
I think we pretty much laid out why this game was not successful, and it boiled down to just not being prepared when it came out, and they just put it out anyway. The same kind of happened with Raw 2, which we will cover in the future. But I also put out an unboxing this week of the WWE version of Raw limited edition from Japan that came with a t-shirt, a special Jack-specific figure, and the game itself. So head on over to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast and check it out today.
And hey, I want to give you kudos and a little golf clap. It was a very, very nice video that you put together. Sound quality was great. Editing was great. Everything was super awesome. So very proud of you. And thanks for making great content on the YouTube.
I put a lot into it, but I actually have a few more things I want to unbox. So stay tuned for those in the future. I have some handhelds I've spoke about in the past. I think now that we are still stuck at home for the most part, I have more time to do that. So we'll have that up in a week or two.
And I am currently working, I spoke to John off air about this. I'm working on a little project. It is sitting to my left of a bunch of consoles that will be being hooked up, and maybe that will transition into some more Twitch content in the future. Ooh. Because I'm feeling itchy, man. I want to get back on that Twitch grind.
You should get some cream for that itch.
Cream.
Cream. What a weird word. Okay, sidetrack. Mark Out Wrestling, the card game. This guy started following us on Twitter. We got to interacting with him. He's a very cool dude. He sent us an entire rundown of what this game is. So Mark Out is a digital wrestling card game. Now, you're probably thinking it's like Supercard, but it's not. In this game, you build your ultimate deck using wrestling move cards. And he's been posting on Twitter the renderings. He actually rendered out the Monster Factory training dojo to use as like the background, which is pretty cool. The cards you can get are like submissions, grapples, technical moves, taunts, modifiers. It's kind of unlimited. It's endless at the moment. And the goal is to create like the perfect mix of cards to use to damage your opponent. Kind of like a classic like Pokemon-esque card game, but it's wrestling moves. But I think it's cool that you're very interactive. So like the move you do, you actually see your character do that move. So there is Create a Wrestler. There's over 100 unique move cards. You use formulas to create new moves, which is pretty cool. You can upgrade the cards. You fill your momentum to do finishing moves, and you could purchase card packs to improve your deck.
And I gotta say, go on Twitter and follow Spot Callers. It's SPOTCALLERZ. That is the gentleman that we've been speaking to. And I gotta say, just the screenshots and the little videos and GIFs that he's been posting, if this is the final result, and it's just these faceless, like, you know, almost looks like the dummies in the games that you would normally beat up when you're creating a wrestler. If this is the final product, I'm happy with it because it just looks cool. Like the way that these animations are being showed, like it's a very interesting take on something that is usually so fluid and has so much detail that this works with less detail and you still know what's happening. I'm very interested to see to how this turns out in the final project.
Yeah, it's very unique. He's also worked on the Avengers Infinity War ad game for Rocket Mortgage and Wrestling VR Entrance Simulator, which can be found for free, the Ruthless Aggression VR sim, on his website at grindcitygamingstudio.com/VR wrestling. So check that out, and that'll give you a little preview of what's in store for the card game. But while we're giving shout-outs here, we've mentioned them many times. Friends of the show, Space Zamboni, Alex and Tony, these guys hit me up. They have a new graphic novel out on Amazon right now. The Kindle version, it's only $10.99. It's called Outlawed Justice Season 1, a superhero thriller comic novel. Now, I'm like halfway through it right now. I gotta say, since I've known these guys, Alex was in like my, I think, college bio class or something like that, or chemistry class, I don't remember. And they went to my high school. These guys, ever since they've started getting into like digital media, they've always been putting out like awesome content. They've always progressed and got better with it. So check out the comic. It's a pretty good graphic novel. The artistry, the illustrations, they're beautiful. These guys are great. It's called Outlawed Justice Season 1, a superhero thriller comic novel. Now, with that, George, are you ready for some gaming news?
Oh man, I can't wait. Let's do it.
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at vgfgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
Developer Casper Crows has revealed that its survival horror meets action-adventure game, Elisa, is coming to the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch Lite. The news comes on the back of the game's completed Kickstarter, and more specifically, on the back of the game not only achieving funding, but hitting some stretch goals in the process. According to Casper Crows, Elisa is a classic 90s horror game set in a fictional and fantasy universe inspired by the 1920s. In it, you play as Elisa, an elite royal agent who's chasing a wanted criminal, which eventually leads her to a haunted dollhouse. There's currently no word on a precise release date, but the developer is aiming to have the game out sometime in 2021. A new report about Call of Duty 2020, believed to be called Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, has surfaced online, revealing some major and alleged details about the PS5, PS4, Xbox One, and Series X and PC game. Broadly speaking, the new report notes the game will feature multiplayer, zombies, and a campaign, but no battle royale. Rather, it'll be offered alongside Call of Duty Warzone, the free-to-play battle royale experience that launched earlier this year. And here we go, Naughty Dog's The Last of Us 2 has already sold more than 4 million copies in just a few days after its launch to make the game the fastest-selling first-party exclusive ever on the PlayStation 4, beating Spider-Man. The milestone was announced on Friday, and the numbers are obviously going to grow. And for comparison, The Last of Us Part 1 sold about 17 million total up until April 2018. And that's all the gaming news today. Check back next week.
Johnny, I couldn't help but notice that your voice was a little coarse there. Are you feeling all right?
A little dry, a little cracky. Well, today's actually Hangover Mark's podcast. Johnny got into his liquor cabinet last night. I'm not a big drinker. I don't drink much. I'll have a beer here and there. I like beers when I'm grilling. But last night, we had some people over, social distance, obviously, some family, and there was a bottle of tequila. The bottle of tequila is not there anymore. You mix some seltzer. I mix some. I have frozen berries that come in like those smoothie packs. Drop those in there. So, yeah, it was a rough night. It was a rough overnight. It's a rough morning, but some Kodiak cakes and some turkey bacon and a gallon of water, and I'm good to go. So.
All right, so we should redo the intro. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast. I'm George Feast, and you're Johnny Hangover.
Johnny
for
Hangover.
One episode only. All right.
Yeah, I'm all right, though. I mean, throat's just getting a little dry for obvious reasons,
right,
but I'm
fine.
okay.
Just, I couldn't help but notice that a little change in your voice. Just wanted to make sure that you were okay.
Back to the gaming news, George, the important stuff. So...
Oh, yes, sorry.
I normally don't put stuff that's kind of speculation or something that's maybe not coming out yet, but this game, Elisa, just caught my eye because I was debating getting a Switch back around, I think around Black Friday I was debating it, but this...
Yeah, it was around Black Friday, Christmas. I tried to convince you to get one so you could play Smash Brothers and Pokemon with me.
It's kind of games like these that would make me get it because that seems pretty cool. I could kind of picture what it's already going to look like. Then you got to remember it is going to be on the Switch, so it might be a little more, say, cartoony-esque, but it sounded really cool to me, so that's why I threw it in there. I think when it releases, even though it is a Kickstarter, so it's not going to be maybe like a major game, I'm going to follow it all the way through.
So here's another reason for you maybe to get a Switch. When you were younger, and you had an N64, right?
It's still right in front of me. Same exact one.
I didn't know if you bought a new one. Did you happen to have a little game called Pokemon Snap?
I still have it. It.
Well, I want you to open up your Google machine right now. We're going to do this live on the podcast. And I want you to type in Pokemon Snap Nintendo Switch.
What? Oh, man.
And just the first, can you read the bold blue headline that's right there for me?
New Pokemon Snap for Nintendo Switch. Wow. Okay, wait. I'm going to stop you. You're saying this is a selling point. I don't know.
It's the only point.
I don't know a single Pokemon past Silver and Gold. So
Great.
For me...
Click the link.
Oh.
The first two Pokemon that you see is Pikachu, and then there's a Lapras and a Squirtle.
Okay, but are the new ones going to be in it?
It's going to be a mix. They've got so many generations, it'll be a mix. So, I mean, I can't imagine that they're just going to be like, it's 2020, we're just going to forget about the original, and we're only going to put the new stuff in.
But I could just play the original. I still have it.
Yeah, but this is going to be on a Switch, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to take... You'll be able to take the Switch and hold it like a camera.
Oh, okay. So I could just play Pokemon Go is what you're saying?
You take pictures in Pokemon Go like that?
Yeah, you could put your camera.
Yeah, turn off AR mode. What are you, savage?
Battery drainer. Anyway.
Oh, God.
That is cool. Do they have a Pokemon Stadium out for Switch?
I don't think they've done a Pokemon Stadium
the game.
in a long time. I don't think they've done a Pokemon Stadium because I know for a while a lot of the mobile games had online battling mode because the DS could go online. So I think it kind of negated the need for a stadium.
Okay.
And there's like a stadium-esque tower system in the new...
that makes sense.
In Sword and Shield, so... Which also just released a huge DLC. I want to say maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. So a lot of big content coming out on the Switch. But one last thing before you jump into the question of the week, John.
Yep.
I want you to put maybe 10 seconds of that beautiful song, "The Last of Us 2," baby. Oh, I've been waiting for this for so long.
Okay, so you showed me, you got it. You got the 2 discs. One is an install disc and one's a game disc?
Yeah, so first of all, you told me, I don't think you mentioned it on the pod, that you bought an external hard drive for your PlayStation.
Life-changing, let me tell you. I loaded up games like no other.
Boy, let me tell you, you're absolutely going to need it because The Last of Us is 70 gigs.
Okay, I've been playing Warzone and updating Warzone, which is over 100. So Spider-Man's, I think, 60s.
Yeah, so I had to delete a lot of stuff. Shadow of Mordor. That got deleted.
I bought a 2 terabyte hard drive, so I'm good.
So I will probably be joining that club and also getting an external for my PlayStation. But man, I cannot tell you. You remember the first time, for those of us who've played The Last of Us, that first time you load it up and you're like, wow, this game is gorgeous. Everything is beautiful and like deep. Everything is so like it's really immersive. The Last of Us 2 makes the first game look like a piece of crap.
All right, you have to think. See, someone pointed out to me like how good it looked, blah blah blah. I don't know how this one can get any better. The first one was ported for the PS3 first. So there's a lot. I'm just saying, no, I'm not arguing. There's just a lot that they could have upgraded because it's a generational thing now.
Yeah, well, I played it on the PlayStation 3 when it first came out. So and I'm speaking from that, just like playing on the PlayStation 3, thinking of how far games have come from the 3 to, pretty much the end of the life of the 4. Like, it's insane. It's insane how detailed and immersive a game can be just from the quality of sound and the quality of animation. Like, I brushed up against a tree that had snow on it, and the snow fell off of the tree like if you like brushed up against a branch in real life. Like,
it's the little things.
I popped so big for that, and sitting in my living room playing, I was like, "Did you see that? Did you just see what happened when I brushed up against that tree? The snow." And my wife was like, "That's what's making you so excited." And I was like, I would never have thought to put that in a game.
Yeah,
it blew my mind how small of a detail that was, but how much it helps with the immersion of a game.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too much into the game because, listen, I've been busy. I haven't downloaded it.
I haven't downloaded it yet. Anything.
I know you bought spoilers. So you bought the actual disc. I plan on just downloading it straight to my PlayStation because I'm kind of okay. I was always a disc guy, and we spoke about this on a past episode. How I like just having it in front of me. But listen, like I have EA access, so I just downloaded NHL, which was on there for free. Now I have this disc that I have nothing to do with. I don't have to put it in my game anymore. I could just go sell it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I totally hear you out. The whole digital downloads is a lifesaver. It's a time saver. But there are just certain games that I feel like you have to own.
Yeah.
And Last of Us 1 and 2 is one of them. And obviously, I've started my wrestling game collection. So
yeah, it's just annoying to keep popping a different disc in and out when you want to play something else. But I get it. Georgie, are you ready for the question of the week?
Yep, let's jump right in.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Johnny Clash, and I'm here to tell you that the Game Marks podcast have their own pro wrestling tee store. Brace yourself, because the Game Marks podcast are on ProWrestlingTees.com with 4 brand new designs that are guaranteed to be the next big thing. So head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod today and play it forever. Marks.
All right, so the question of the week is a weekly segment where we go back and forth and ask each other a question, and then we like to propose the question to you, our listeners. Last week, I asked everyone to please tag your player 2, and Johnny made a wonderful insert your head or face here graphic, and more people used it than I thought they would, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. It was just a very simple, nostalgic throwback to the days of carefreeness and having your player 2. But this week, Johnny boy, it is your turn. Let's hear your question.
All right. Yeah. You know what else I was thinking to go back to that question of the week? No one has their player 2 sitting next to them anymore. They're always like this, like over the internet, which is crazy. But anyway, I digress. So I unboxed this beautiful raw Japanese limited edition set. I don't think these sets started to come out until maybe later in the SmackDown series, I would say, or the WWE series. If you were to pick an older game and put together a limited edition box set, what would it be and what would be included?
Ooh, okay. So immediately the first thing that jumps out to me is my height of N64 love. As a kid, I'm going to say the game is NWO Revenge.
Ooh.
That's the game that I'm going to pick. And I kind of want... So I'm kind of imagining this mystery box collector's edition where... I mean, I'm not the biggest figure mark, so Revenge comes out in 1998. What's the big figure for WCW in 98? Is it the action?
I think it's San Francisco Toy Makers. Yeah, original San Francisco Toy Makers.
Or is it the ones that like where it's the? I have it in my case back there. Is it like where the Goldberg comes with the Rey Mysterio and Hulk Hogan
No.
Giant comes with the Rey Mysterio? That's like later.
The Toy Biz,
like
no, yeah,
2000s,
those come a year or two later. But no, 98. You're still in original San Francisco Toy Makers.
Okay, so I think what I want is collector's edition WCW NWO Revenge. You get a mystery original San Francisco toy maker of one of the 4 people on the cover. And, you know, you get a mystery Goldberg, a mystery Raven, a mystery Kevin Nash, and a mystery Hulk Hogan. And in terms of other things that you get, I've never been a big fan of like a section of the canvas or like, you know, a piece of someone's shirt. Like that's never been like a big thing for me. So what I think is that it's kind of all inclusive. You get the game, you get the mystery figure, you get the strategy guide, because the wrestling strategy guides were always so cool. Super detailed, giant pictures, like bios on the wrestlers that you've never would get in the game itself. And maybe an exclusive NWO paint splatter spray paint N64 controller.
Ooh. Oh, I'm picturing that. That would be a nice little skin. Oh,
Just like
I
a
like
black, all black controller, and then where that Nintendo logo is just like that stencil of the NWO, and that's what I'm going with. I'm very excited to hear your option, having being that you just unboxed this great collector's edition of Raw.
All right, so similarly, I guess I would also choose probably an action figure. But here's the thing. I would go like SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. And I would do like an exclusive like Brock Lesnar figure with maybe like a t-shirt with like his back tattoo logo. Like that big skull with the Here Comes the Pain on it. I'm a big fan of old merch. So, like, I would love, like, a THQ shirt or something like that era. So, if it was, like, THQ on the back with, like, even this Here Comes the Pain logo on the front, I would love that, especially now. I would have wore the crap out of it back then, but now, yeah. The thing is, Jakks figures in 2003 were so bad, they didn't have knee pads or elbow pads, that it would almost not be worth it. So, part of me does want to say maybe the original SmackDown game would have been a cool box set with, like, okay, here's something weird that could have came with it. A Brahma Bull tattoo that you put on your shoulder, you know?
Oh, like a temporary Brahma Bull tattoo. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Maybe that. Maybe, I don't know. For PlayStation, there wasn't much. Maybe a figure, you know?
Wait, hear me out. So you're saying you want, for your Brock shirt, for Here Comes the Pain, you're saying Brock's tattoo on the front of the shirt. Imagine if they really went in depth, because he has a tattoo on his shoulder too, right?
Yeah.
On like his arm. So imagine the shirt is Brock's entire back tattoo on the back of the shirt, and his arm tattoo on the sleeve, so that when you put it on, you have Brock's tattoos. And then like left chest really small is the Here Comes the Pain logo.
Okay, yeah, because he didn't have the big penis handle yet.
We're going to say it's sword because I don't want him to come and kick my ass. But I think something like that, because WWE is never going to make that shirt. WWE is never going to make the full back and the sleeve and the game logo on the front. They're going to do just the big tattoo on the back.
I like it.
I like the rock temporary tattoo though too. That's a really good one.
But as usual, we throw it out to you, the fans. If there was an old game that you wanted a limited edition for, what would you put in it?
Oh, God. All right. So, John, do you think it's time to do our hashtag deep dive of this week's game?
Let's take the plunge, baby. Hey guys, Johnny here. While we love talking about video games and wrestling here on the podcast, we wanted to share with you a new offer from our friends at Stitcher. An enormous amount of shows and bonus episodes are available on Stitcher Premium, such as Office Ladies, Comedy Bang Bang, WTF with Mark Aaron, How Did This Get Made, Bitch Sesh, True Crime Garage, Marvel's Wolverine, and plenty more. Right now you could sign up for Stitcher Premium for only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year using our code GameMarksPodcast. That's all one word. Head on over to Stitcher.com/premium for this amazing deal and a free month. That's Stitcher.com/premium and use code GameMarksPodcast. That's all one word. Game on, Marks.
All right. So, All Japan Pro Wrestling 1993, also known as Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling, released July 16th of 1993 for the Super Famicom, developed by Natsume, published by Masaya. This feels, I mean, we said it a lot while we were playing, it feels very Fire Pro-esque. It's a very similar grappling system. It really makes you pick when you do your strikes. We said multiple times that hitting a strike was probably the hardest part of the game. Yeah. But it felt very rewarding when you hit them. I don't really know. I can't quite put my finger on it. It felt Fire Pro, but I also got a little bit of the feeling of like, maybe like a Royal Rumble in there.
Yeah, for sure. A little WrestleFesty.
Yeah, like it was a little Fire Pro arcadey style. Like it was an interesting blend of a few different type of game genres, but also there is an American release of this game that is just called Natsume Championship Pro Wrestling. It is just the American port of this game, and
so that doesn't have like licensed wrestlers in it, right? They're all kind of made up. Yeah, okay.
It is the most generic. They changed the sprites, they changed the little avatars, they changed their names, but mechanically, it still plays the same. You just lose, the
allure.
You lose, Giant. Yeah, you lose Giant Baba. You lose, Dr. Death and Patriot and all them. I'm trying to think of if you had to put your finger on the definitive characteristic of this game, like what makes, because every game that we've played has had some kind of unique aspect to it. Like, what is this game's? What's the draw for this game?
I mean, I guess the draw is just the roster. It's 16 wrestlers, but it's the giant stars of All Japan at the time, so it has a good like selling point with like we'll get into the roster, but like Giant Baba, Stan Hansen, like it's got everyone in it, and it plays and feels like that classic game. Listen, it's Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, so it's only 4 buttons and the bumpers, so you're not learning, like, you're not reinventing the wheel here. You just have to figure out the timing of like the grapples, like you said, which is almost spot on to what they carried on through Fire Pro.
Any game that doesn't promote button mashing is a huge plus for me, because every game that we play, it's always like, John hits a spinning wheel kick. John hits a spinning wheel kick.
Funny, John, those are the only ones I win. So this one, you mentioned the American port for this, but this actual game never got an NTSC release. But there was a way that if you put the game in a Game Genie and you trimmed off the plastic tabs, you were able to play it.
Oh,
so you could actually modify the cartridge and be able to play it on a Super Nintendo.
The days of like hard modding a console is like such a foreign concept to me. Like,
yeah, right.
Back in the day, you wanted to play, PAL versions of games on like your PlayStation or whatever, you essentially just had to like flash the system with like a new install of like the OS. But like these are like, you had to open the cartridge and like remove pieces. Like this was some hardcore shit that you had to do if you really wanted to play this game. You had to be committed.
Yeah, and trying to figure it out. Like, what if you screwed up the game? Like, if you're in America and you have a Japanese game, first of all, in 1993, how did you get it? And second of all, if you screwed it up by cutting off these plastic tabs, how are you getting a new one?
It's not cheap. I can't imagine.
There was no eBay in 1993.
Japan in 96 is cheap.
Yeah.
In 93, sorry. Do you want to talk a little bit about how this game feels? I mean, we briefly touched on, it being Fire Pro-esque, but do you want to touch, and we'll talk a little bit more about the controls itself. I mean, obviously, it's a wrestling game from 93. It's collision-based grappling. I think the funniest, weirdest thing for me when playing this game is that not every wrestler can go to the top rope.
No.
And if you try to go to the top rope and your wrestler cannot, you essentially run into the turnbuckle and knock yourself dizzy.
And it goes ding.
Yeah, very strange.
Great sound effects in this game.
Not at all what I expected.
No, but like you said, it's not... Like we said before, it's 4 buttons. It's the bumpers. They each do something. But the game does have taunts. It has power moves. It has strikes. You could run. You could hit the ropes. You're not bound to really a grid, even though it's side to side. Like, you can go up and down. It felt good. Honestly, the game does feel, like you said, rewarding when you finally hit that big move. But
yeah,
the collision-based grappling, it's something I'm still, as we mentioned, I'm back on the Fire Pro board, so I got to get used to it because striking was so hard in this game. Every time we'd get close enough to where I could kick you, we would just end up grappling.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. I try to take the collision-based grappling with a grain of salt because it's not just Fire Pro. That's not a Fire Pro exclusive thing.
Right.
Fire Pro just treated it differently than, a game like, Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, where it's like, it's collision-based, but then it turns into button mashing and it's like a tug of war for whoever wins. Fire Pro just had it where, it's all about you lock up and then whoever can hit the button within the fastest reaction time got the move. But I mean, collision based is not exclusive for Fire Pro, but I know what you're saying. It's kind of frustrating.
You really have to like get used to it. I'm still playing Fire Pro, and maybe I've won like 2 games ever. So who knows?
Can that be? Okay. Johnny on the spot here.
I'm
gonna throw throw an idea at you right now. What if we introduced a small section at the end of the deep dive every week, and it's called Johnny Fire Pro, and you give us an update on how you're feeling about your playthrough through Fire Pro World.
Okay, sure. Okay, yeah, I like it.
That way we know how you feel, and we know, try to keep an idea of what your what matches you're going through. Let us know how Johnny Clash is fighting through the world of New Japan.
Okay, yeah, I'm in. That sounds good. Back to this game, though. There are a couple of different matches. Now, the whole game's in Japanese. We tried using the Google Translate, and we kind of knew where we were going from there, but it took us a while to find the 2-player mode because none of them translated to player 1 versus player 2. So we had singles championship, tag championship, a singles tournament, a tag tournament, and then there was a team battle, which that is what we did, where you are assigned pre-made teams of 4, and you have to keep going. It's a series of tag matches, and you keep going until the captain of the team is beaten. So his stamina is carried over from match to match. So whoever you choose as your captain, that's always going to be your tag partner, and he could have little stamina or high stamina. And if you're George, you're going to only hit me with body slams, giant brain busters, power bombs, and choke slams. So, yeah.
I mean, that was a nasty jackknife, man. You can't argue that.
You can't, but visually, those moves looked really, really, really good. You also have a taunt button, and those were cool as well. Everything.
It's so funny.
Yeah, this was a very visually pretty game. Like,
yeah.
We've said there are some games that just kind of like the colors look muted, the colors look dull. Like, these were bright, and sometimes the crowd can kind of overpower what's going on in the ring, but this crowd was kind of a little darker, so you could see what's going on in the ring very clearly. But the ring itself looked good. The outside, like the mats and the guardrails, all looked really good. No entrances, so unfortunately I don't get, the beautiful entrance shot that I love so much with the crowd. But overall, the art of this game, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
All right, John, what do you say we jump into this roster?
You're going to make me read it, aren't you?
Nope, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I'm just looking up how to say one person's name because I don't know how to say it.
Well, I'm going to be drinking a lot of Pedialyte and water right now while you do that. So.
All right, so your roster for All Japan Pro Wrestling 1993. Giant Baba, Mitsuhara Misawa, Toshiaki Kawada, Kenta Kobashi, Tsuyoshi Kikuchi, Jumbo Tsuruta, Akira Tao, Masanobu Fuchi, Yoshinari Ogawa, Rusher Kimura, Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy, Dr. Death, Dan Spivey, Johnny Ace, and The Patriot.
The Johnny Ace?
The Johnny Ace Crusher.
Wow. With a skateboard and all, or no?
I'd expect nothing different.
All right, so the artwork here. Now, the artwork for all of these All Japan games are very, very similar. This one has Giant Baba looking very giant on the cover in his, what do they call that?
This
a kimono?
This is probably the most intimidating cover art I've ever seen.
You know what would be great if they put another wrestler next to him just for reference of how big he is?
Just for reference.
Just like staring up at him like, oh, that's who I have to wrestle.
100% agree with that.
But I definitely like it. It's got the flames behind it. It's got the big title, the Super Famicom logo, which we've grown to kind of love, I guess. And black and white pictures behind him, kind of with that ripping effect. I love this. You know how many posters and stuff I've actually done the same like effect on, just because it's super easy and it just looks really good.
The rip paper effect with the flames.
Yeah.
This is like the most 90s artwork, but it's so great.
It's great. Yeah, I like it. It's got the Saya logo and everything. I don't think we're going to translate it this week because
the font is really small.
It's really small, and I actually already tried, and I got absolutely nothing. So,
yeah. All right. Well, one thing, just jumping back to the visuals of the game that we didn't talk about, which we usually do talk about pretty early on in the episode, is the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd for this game is pretty good. It fits in line with the rest of the art style of the game. It's not like, the wrestlers are super detailed and the crowd is just like, generic pixel arts, like 8-bit graphics. Like this, a lot of detail in the crowd, a lot of detail in the announcer booth. Like it felt fluid. It felt cohesive, which is nice. And there was movement, and it was, you didn't get lost, and it didn't stand out that anything was like a garishly like under detailed section.
Yeah, I mean it's a little repetitive, but I don't mind it because, like I said, it doesn't interfere with the gameplay at all. It's actually a little bit above like where the top rope ends, so you're not really interacting with it at all. And when you go outside the ring, you don't see it at all. But the announcers, they look like, that's how the Japanese announcers sit. That's the table they sit on, those hard ass tables that Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega love to go through. The crowd, you can see the chairs they're sitting in. You can see their reactions. It's great. I want to talk about up top of the game, the stamina bars and the timer. Very, very WWF Attitude and Warzone-like, I'd say. More, I'd say Warzone, where you start where it's blue. Then it all winds down. Now it's another color, maybe green. Now it's yellow. Now it's red. Now your health starts to deplete. So that's a cool meter to kind of, establish like where you're at in the match. And if you're in a tag match and you go to the apron, you regain some of that stamina, even though it does quickly drain. But I'm a big fan of like the stamina bars and the health bars that don't just take up the whole screen. They kind of just stay out of the way. Again, when you go outside the ring, they disappear. Like they go up with it.
They really, for a game that came out in 1993, there's a lot of subtle details that show how much emphasis was put on the gameplay and, for a side-scrolling wrestling game, it actually felt kind of immersive, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, you felt like you were in this wrestling match, and like you got into it, and it, you know, the action moved with you. It wasn't, you know, you weren't fixated in one section and you couldn't explore anything.
Yeah, of course. And as hard as this game was, there's one mode we didn't touch on yet, which was the training mode. And this is something I wanted to bring up because you actually go to Giant Baba's training school, which shows you the basics. Now, unfortunately for us, it's all in Japanese, so it would be very hard for us to actually go through the training because we don't know what's being said. But this is something that I feel most of these Japanese titles had, no matter which company, no matter which product it is. They all have a training mode or kind of like a freestyle mode where you could just practice moves. And that's something, especially for me, now going to Fire Pro, I had no idea what I was doing. I went through the entire training, and now I kind of have like an idea, but this is great. I feel like more games need this, not just wrestling games.
Yeah.
Okay, good talk.
Great. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a better. I mean,
yes, sir, Johnny. I don't know. Okay, great.
I mean,
moving on.
I agree with you. I can't add anything to what you just said. I fully agree with what you just said. Full stop. Like,
all right. Like,
I really don't know what else to say to that.
So, you want to get into some fast facts here?
Yeah, let's do it, Johnny. This game was followed by 4 sequels, 3 of which are also Super Famicom games. The immediate sequel, Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling - Sakai CQ Tag, was released in the US as Natsume Championship Wrestling and is the only game in the series with a US localization.
You can find Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling on eBay brand new in box for about $40, with used copies going for about $3 out of the box.
All right, so I actually misspoke before when I said that this game had a port that was Natsume Championship Wrestling. This actually does not. The sequel to this game does, so I apologize. I misspoke.
Ooh.
And, George is in trouble. All right, John. I'm sure we have a long list this week, and I'm feeling a little bit tired. It's kind of hot outside. I think we should jump into some R&R for some ratings and reviews.
Well, sorry for you, no R&R, you get none because I couldn't find anything. This was probably one of the hardest games to research. I had to scatter through YouTube playthroughs, through tutorials, through game FAQ playthroughs, and yeah, it was very hard to actually research, but we got through it. I didn't see any real ratings and reviews. A few sites, kind of like unnamed sites of people, like blogs that have played this game. Most of them said it was a decent game and they liked it. So I'll take their word for it, and I'll say that was the ratings and reviews.
Okay, well, what do you say we talk about our weekly tournament that we like to call Clash at the Feast?
What's up, Game Marks Podcast? This is Danny Tancredi, and I'm here with my brother Johnny Tancredi, and together we are the Cult Looking Podcast. Each week we bring to you the latest news and reviews on all things baseball collectibles. From baseball cards and memorabilia to bobbleheads and stadium giveaways, each episode will discuss the newest products to hit the shelves of your local card store and your favorite ballparks around the country. Be sure to be following us on Instagram at the Cult Looking Podcast and on Twitter at CultLookingBB. New episodes drop every Friday, so be sure to tune in wherever great podcasts like this one are available. The Cult Looking Podcast. Don't get caught looking, start collecting.
All right, so like we said earlier, we did the team battle for this week's Clash at the Feast, and we limited it to the 4 wrestlers that were in the ring, and the first one to get a pinfall won. I was Akira Tao and Jumbo Tsuruta, and Johnny had Kenta Kobashi. and Toshiaki Kawada. And this was...
Let me explain.
Choke slammy match
Yeah,
ever.
let me explain. So we played a few games before this, so George got the hang of it. Let's just put it that way. Johnny was still trying to figure out the grapples. He's still not comfortable with those collision-based grapples like Fire Pro. I got the Fire Pro timing down, but this was a little different, and obviously I'm playing against a real player, which is you, and you just kept choke slamming me. You kept
Real. Emphasis
jackknife
on the real.
Yeah, you kept jackknife power bombing me, brain bustering me, and like the other Japanese titles, when you like suplex or body slam someone near the ropes, they're going flying out of the ring. So there was a lot of that, which takes a little more damage. The first game we played before Clash at the Feast, I think I was a little better. I don't know why. Maybe it was the people I selected, but I was getting you in that half crab all the time. I almost made you tap.
Yeah.
Both of our healths were down. This one, you just straight up ran through me. But,
I mean,
however, like we said, it's a tag match. I would like to see more of like a one-on-one style because, you know, when you pin, when you go into submission, when you tag, the other guy's jumping in and attacking you. I would have liked to see just a straight-up one-on-one match, which maybe one day we could revisit. But
yeah.
kudos to you, George. You won again.
All right. Well, you know, I would be happy to pick this back up when we jump into maybe we'll add it to the list, and maybe in the near future we will be doing the other SNES version. We'll play Natsumi Championship Wrestling, which also is the sequel to this game, and we'll play the Americanized version of that.
Sure, but as we speak, it is now 21-10 with one tie between us. So, George, would you like me to play your music?
Actually, you know what I would like you to play?
Don't say it.
It's been a while.
Don't say it.
It's been a while. In lieu of This Is Hell, as much as I love them, I think I would like you to play some 8-Bit Smooth Criminal.
All right. Well, I'm over that. So, George, we have to.
John,
we have
real
to
quick.
What?
I was just gonna ask you if you happen to know what time it was.
No, I don't know, but I'm getting hungry, and I feel like I could only eat like saltines and like toast with jelly at the moment. So, I hope it's not too late, but it looks like it's about 1:38 p.m.
Oh, do you happen to know what time that means?
I think that means it's time to rate the games.
The game! It's all about the game.
All right, so Johnny Clash,
That's me.
All Japan Pro Wrestling 1993, also known as Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 1993. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Ooh, ooh, that got me tingly. Okay.
I can do it too. That's your stick here.
I actually did like this game. I gotta admit, I liked it. I did like it. There was just that language barrier where maybe like we couldn't play one-on-one. That was unfortunate. Maybe I won't know what I'm selecting, but I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I think the game itself was fun. It's just very hard to navigate because of the language barrier. So for that, I'm going to have to future endeavor.
You're fired!
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I'm right there with you. The game itself was fun. I'm very excited to go and play the US port of this game, of the sequel to this game. And yeah, for that, I will future endeavor this game. Had there not been a US port to the sequel, probably would love this entire series and play this entire series forever.
Oh my god, tequila.
Leave that in.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's a double future endeavor.
But for good reasons. We like the game.
Yeah. The language barrier just killed it.
You're fired!
Not even that it killed it for me. Like, I I don't know, like we were constantly pulling out like Google Translate on our phone, trying to see what was what. We were clicking in, clicking out.
Far.
Yeah, it was just like a lengthy process just to actually play the game. But, there's many more, many more like it.
Now, let me tell you something. A little birdie told me that we're gonna have a very special episode next week. I don't know if you.
I'm not going to spoil it yet, just in case it falls through.
But let's just say this: next week on the podcast, the game that we are playing is WCW versus the World.
Oh, just the cover of this game brings me back. You know, playing it. In
I
my friend's
actually found.
bedroom. Yeah.
I actually found. I used to have this holographic for Nitro. It was like a giant cardboard piece of like with a holographic on it, and it like went through the roster depending on the light that you hit it at. It was sick, but yeah, that's not right. So that is what we are playing next week. I'm very excited for this game because I honestly don't know if I've played this one.
Really? Okay, I didn't own it, but I had a friend who owned it, and we played it all the time.
I feel like I always get this and Nitro confused, and I can't remember which one I played.
The covers are very, very similar, but this one actually looks more like a WCW versus the World, where Nitro just looks like a blob of shit. So
yeah, because Nitro has 3 people on the cover. I think it's like Hogan, Nash, and Goldberg.
No.
And then
let me explain this really quick. So WCW Nitro on the cover has original.
Oh, I also just Google searched it. I was.
No, you're
wrong.
not. You're actually not wrong. It has Hogan, NWO Hogan, the Giant, who looks smaller than Hogan for some reason, and original Crow Sting. But now Thunder has DDP, Goldberg, Giant, and Hogan. When Nitro,
God, Thunder! I forgot about Thunder.
That's the sequel to Nitro. So when Nitro came out on the N64 under the Nitro title, it has the same Nitro logo, but it has Hogan, Goldberg, and Kevin Nash on the cover. Now, Goldberg's not even in Nitro. He's in Thunder. But when you play...
Oh my God, this is
it's so confusing.
Complicated.
Okay, and we're doing a podcast, so I have the time to research this. Imagine me as like a 12-year-old trying to figure out why I just bought Nitro for the N64, and it has Goldberg in it, but it's playing like Thunder. It was with half the roster. Not even half the roster, like one page of the roster. It is.
My head is spinning.
This is the most That's So WCW thing we could ever say.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Did you follow along with all that?
I'm gonna have to come up to speed by next week, so
I'll explain it all over again.
Play this game. Very excited to play this game. Hopefully our guest is able to come through. All right, John, the first official segment of Johnny Fire Pro. Let's hear it. Where are you? How are you enjoying the game? We're now, 2-3 weeks into you having the game?
About 2 weeks, but unfortunately this week I didn't play it that much. Here and there, I jump in and I play like a quick match. I'm trying to get accustomed to like the death matches and the weapons and stuff. So I've been playing a lot of UFC 3 because I absolutely love the game. I think it plays well. I think it's one of the best fighting games that has ever come out, and I'm very excited for 4. So I jumped into the MMA version of Fire Pro. I'm not sure, I don't remember what the mode is called, but Johnny Clash took a shot at that. I faced off against Edge in some MMA matches. That's what I realized I like about this game. The customization, the stupid skewed reality of like me and Edge in an octagon. It's just weird. Like I said last week, I beat Hogan via the Walls of Jericho, so that was fun. I'm enjoying it. Still haven't really touched the junior heavyweight road to whatever because it was just very texty. I don't like sitting there scrolling through text. I just want to play the game.
Yeah, I get that. It is a very text-heavy game.
I get it, though, because actually I just saw our good friends at Retrosoft. They just put out a little snippet of their story mode, and I think it's going to be similar, kind of the same with like screenshots of the guys talking to each other, but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like there needs to be a balance between, like, I'm all for having a story mode in the game and like having text that you have to read, but less is more.
Less is definitely more, but that's my Fire Pro update for this week, and I'll be sure to let you guys know what I think next week. Georgie, is it time to put a bow on this baby?
Let's do it. So, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. Please check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store at prowrestlingtees.com/GameMarksPod. It is currently the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe wherever you choose to listen. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. We got some things in the pipeline, very excited about. Some Twitch stuff, maybe some new swag. Me and Johnny are burning the midnight oil, trying to get some new stuff out to you guys. And this is the part where I take a sip of my water and I ask Johnny to say goodbye.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks podcast every single Monday.